seconds to go. Puts it up and scores at the buzzer. All the man is out on the field. That's another knockdown. You know, Jim. You believe in miracles?
Yes! You are now listening to the All Things Sport Podcast with your hosts, Daimeon Banks and Pierre Banks on Spreaker Radio. Fellas, you know what to do.
What's happening? What's up? What's going on? It's the All Things Sport Podcast. I'm Daimeon Banks.
And of course, I'm Pierre Banks.
Pierre, another week of the ATS, as I like to call it, the All Things Sport Podcast, where you and myself give our listeners all things sport. Pierre, what's going on, man?
A lot happening, man. A lot happening. It's that time of year. The NBA Finals are here. NHL playoffs just wrapped up.
Congratulations to Sid the Kid and the Pittsburgh Penguins. You know, they captured that Lord Stanley Cup and, you know, brought that back to Three Rivers in Pittsburgh.
Major League Baseball in full swing. And of course, my life is measured through sporting events, man. So it's a pretty good time right now, man. The sun is shining. Birds are chirping. And, you know, grass is green everywhere you go. And before you know it, man, we'll be kicking off for the first game of the season. But how things your way in beautiful Durham, North Carolina?
Well, Pierre, Durham, North Carolina is hot and muggy. It is that time of the year, you know, mid-June. And around these parts, man, in mid-June, you have hot and muggy weather. And, you know, other than that, man, I'm like you. My life is measured in sports. And the NHL playoffs just ended. You have college baseball entering their World Series in Omaha, Nebraska.
Beautiful time.
A lot of things going on in the world of sports, man. A lot of things going on in the world of sports. But before we start with the podcast this week, just want to say congratulations to one of my brothers, man, Telly Savalas Banks, affectionately known to us as Kojak. He is getting married. He is marrying his girlfriend, his fiance, soon to be wife Jill. It's the Jack and Jill affair, Charlotte, 2016. Be there or be square.
Yeah, congratulations to you, Kojak. Been a long time coming for that dude, man. But I salute him. Wish you all the best. Welcome to the club.
The All Things Sport Hot Topic.
We had grandiose ideas when we were in pre-production about what the podcast was going to be about this week. You know, we had ideas of, hey, we're going to talk about this, we're going to talk about that. But, you know, then we came to the conclusion, hey, man, this is game 6 of the NBA Finals. You know, Golden State came into the game up 3-2. So we're thinking if Cleveland wins, it's 3-3 game 7 in Oakland on Father's Day. We have to dedicate the whole podcast to the NBA Finals because Pierre, my friend, that saying is not wrong. NBA action is fantastic.
None of the games have been competitive, but it's starting to heat up, man. Now we're tied at 3 games apiece. Again, none of the games have been single-digit wins, but somehow, some way, this series is so compelling, man.
You know, I'm still revved up, man. Like you said, the games haven't been close, but but you know, with these teams, you feel like it doesn't matter if a team has a lead. Each team has the potential to come back.
Game 5 was just a spectacular performance from 2 of the game's very best. Of course, you got the living legend LeBron James, who poured in 41 points, 16 boards and 7 assists. But Kyrie Irving, man, who just exploded for the first time in a long time on the road. He also contributed 41 points to the cause on 17 of 24 shooting, 5 of 7 from 3. I mean, unbelievable numbers. And he even had 6 assists. That's a high number for Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, game 5 on the road. Backs against the wall. Elimination is in their face. The Cleveland Cavaliers come up big on the road. Rode their 2 horses, LeBron James and Kyrie Irving. Think they got a lot of help from Golden State. and namely Draymond Green, because he was suspended for Game 5 for his flagrant foul in Game 4 against LeBron James. And, Cleveland took full advantage of Draymond Green being out of that game. Over 35 points in the paint for the Cavaliers. LeBron loves to get to the paint. Kyrie Irving was cooking. He was like Rachel Ray. He was cooking, my friend. First time in NBA Finals history that two teammates have 40 points apiece. Both Kyrie and LeBron had 41 points. Outstanding effort from those two. And that allowed Cleveland to live another day and to come back home for Game 6.
Yeah, and Game 6 picked right up where Game 5 left off, with the Cleveland Cavaliers being in control, and really the difference maker being the turnovers. I mean, so many turnovers early for the Golden State Warriors, and they really took themselves out of the game early, and Cleveland was up as much as 31-9.
Yeah, man, Cleveland comes out strong in Game 6. Of course, they're going to come out hype. It's Game 6. It's at their place. They're going to come out pretty intense. And I think Golden State failed to reach the same level of intensity as the Cavaliers, and they dug themselves a huge first quarter hole. And you can't do that. In the NBA Finals, you can't do that. I think that's where Cleveland, made that mistake in the games that they've lost. They've come out, with lackluster performances to start the game off. They fall behind. You exert so much energy and effort to get back into the game, and you're playing from behind the whole game, and you can't do that in the NBA Finals.
But the crazy part about it, Daimeon, is I really feel like Golden State would have been more in the game or more competitive, or even could have won the game if Steph Curry would have stayed out of foul trouble. This is a guy who lost big minutes on Thursday night because he was in foul trouble, but he still had 30 points. So imagine if he's on the floor for his regular amount of minutes and he's still giving you that same production at the same rate. He could have went for 50 tonight. He could have sold up his MVP, his NBA Finals MVP, to go along with his regular season MVP, and been taking home another NBA Finals trophy. But again, a lot of ticky-tack fouls being called. I can't get fined, so I'll say it for Steve Kerr. I mean, a lot of ticky-tack calls on Steph Curry, on the rest of his Golden State Warrior team, and they just could never get off the mat.
Yeah, to start the game off, Cleveland came out again super intense. Of course, they would do that because this is, an elimination game. If they lose, their season is over. They don't want to lose on their home court yet again in the finals like they did last season to this same Golden State Warriors team. But if you're Steph Curry, you have to realize your best ability is availability. And if you're not on the court to help your team, then, you can't display that MVP status that you've earned during the season. And you have to be more smart. You have to be smarter and understand that, I can't pick up these early fouls. I can't try to take a charge on LeBron. I've already got, a couple fouls. I can't do that. I can't, reach on Kyrie Irving. I have fouls. You have to be smarter than that if you're Steph Curry. And, he's so valuable to that team. He, of course, is, it goes without saying, his ability to shoot the ball from any distance is a true, I would, for lack of a better terms, is a blessing, man. He has unlimited range. And when he's on the court, he puts, a crazy amount of pressure on a defense. But if you're in foul trouble, if you're sitting, you can't help your team. And, you fall behind if you're Golden State, and then you struggle the whole game to get back in the game. You're going to make a run because NBA games last an eternity. But you're fighting an uphill battle, from the opening quarter on.
Steph Curry was upset, in my humble, because on the offensive end, he's getting held every play. He's getting pushed every play. He's getting elbowed. He's getting hip checked. They're doing everything they can to prevent him from coming off of screens and getting clean looks at the basket. But on the defensive end, he's being called for those ticky-tack fouls, for those touch fouls, so to say. So you could see the frustration building all night until it came to a crescendo in the fourth quarter when he picked up his sixth foul.
True indeed, man. And, you have to, like I said before, you got to be smarter than that if you're Steph Curry. You went to Davidson. Davidson is a great private school in the state of North Carolina. You are a well-educated man. You're pretty smart. You know, I thought you were smart.
What's Appalachian State?
Appalachian State is
I went there.
Appalachian State is a 3-time national champion located snuggled.
Academically, what are we academically?
They're snuggled in the mountains of, in Boone, North Carolina, man. I wouldn't say that Appalachian State is
University is the Harvard of Watauga County. You hear me?
I wouldn't say that Appalachian State academically is a school on the same caliber of Davidson, but I guarantee you this, Davidson does not want to play Appalachian State in football. They would get drugged all up and down the field.
We're talking about the Stanford of Boone, North Carolina.
The Stanford of Boone.
You know, I mean, academic standards are tough, man, I'm telling you. But now, you know, he was frustrated all night long, but still managed again to have 30 points. And, you know, he wasn't just looking for a shot. He was also getting his teammates involved. But what happened is, aside from his main man, Klay Thompson, he wasn't getting much support from anybody wearing a Golden State uniform. You have the third part of their so-called big three, Draymond Green. He had 8 points and only took 7 shots on 3 of 7 shooting. So, I mean, unacceptable from Draymond Green. This is the Draymond Green, again, who you so poignantly said didn't play in Game 5. And that's what gave Cleveland the advantage and all the momentum going from Game 5 to Game 6 last night and now Game 7. And he's only giving you 8 points? Come on, Draymond Green, you're better than that. And then you go on down the line, Andre Iguodala, 5 points. He was hampered by a back injury for most of the game. Harrison Barnes, 0. He hadn't hit a shot since Game 2. Sean Livingston, Game 1's hero. He had 3 points off the bench. Leandro Barbosa had the game of his life with 14. They're going to need that again at home in Game 7, but he was the third leading contributor. It's unbelievable. James Michael, he contributed with 2 points. So it's right now, Golden State is at a point where they've got to look themselves in the mirror and say to themselves, listen, we're at home. This is Game 7. This is what we worked all season for. This is what we've won 73 games for. We have the advantage. We've manhandled this team at times, and at times we've let lapses in defense. We've let, cold shooting streaks and all types of things get in the way of us being successful, of us closing this series out. Let's go ahead and take care of this at home in front of our home fans in Game 7, the 2 most beautiful words in all of sports. And let's figure this thing out and bring home back-to-back championships.
Well, Pierre, I blame this loss for Golden State squarely on the shoulders of Draymond Green. Draymond Green was suspended for Game 5. So I'm thinking that Draymond is going to come out. He's going to have a great game, man. Probably a triple-double. And, you know, it was points in the game where I didn't even notice he was on the court. And, you know, I know he was feeling a lot of pressure because he felt like Game 5 loss was on him. So he compounded that by playing a mediocre Game 6. And he allowed LeBron James to score 41 points. We haven't even gotten to LeBron James and Kyrie Irving yet. You know, the games that they had in Game 6. Draymond Green, you have to look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, what can you do in Game 7 to make up for Game 5 not being available for your team and Game 6 playing a subpar game? I mean, you would think that he would come out and have a great game, but he didn't. And, you know, it leaves a lot on Steph and Klay to try to pick up the slack because Draymond Green is a pretty darn good player, borderline great. You know, I don't throw the word great around, but Draymond gives you a lot. He gives you points, rebounds, assists, great defense.
Yeah, he gives you a lot on a nightly basis.
And, you know, he just didn't do that tonight. So I'm going to pin this loss on Draymond Green. And, you know, maybe Game 7, he'll have a better game. We don't know. I think it's a lot of pressure on Golden State going back home for Game 7. But we're going to take a commercial break. We're just getting started with the All Things Sport podcast. Before we go to commercial break, want to let you guys know and thank you first and foremost for going to the website, banksboy.com, listening to the old podcast, downloading the podcast, watching the YouTube channel, reading our blogs. That's banksboy.com. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at sportsbydamion. Follow Pierre on Instagram and Twitter _my_humble. Pierre, it's on and popping.
Yes, sir, it is. As Daimeon said, gonna take a short break.